Live from our studios, you're watching Fox Illinois News at 9.
Tonight on Fox, the U.S. Capitol and all surrounding buildings put on lockdown after violent protests following a pro-Trump rally. And local Trump supporters coming to the Illinois Capitol to voice their opinions on the situation that unfolded before the world. Plus, leaders of Illinois responding to the horrifying scenes that took place in Washington, D.C. A massive protest turned into total chaos in Washington. It's a moment many thought the country would never see. This is a live look right now of Capitol Hill tonight. Police and National Guard both are still out there protecting the area. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Marcella Bayeto. A historic day for the country as a night of terror unfolded before our eyes. A woman losing her life and several officers injured and lawmakers ordered to shelter. But for now, calm on the Hill as Congress is now back in session. National correspondent Christine Frizzell begins with the important first step in moving past this dark day.
Good evening. A stunning turn of events here inside the U.S. Capitol. After sheltering in place and trying to hide from an angry mob, lawmakers this evening have returned to work. And some of those Republican senators who were outspoken about objecting to the results of the Electoral College have now changed their minds. After having their offices and their sense of security breached, this was the scene for lawmakers this evening. Senators back to work to continue to certify the Electoral College votes.
Now we're going to finish exactly what we started. We'll complete the process the right way, by the book, and we will certify the winner of the 2020 presidential election.
Many in Congress calling the riot a shameful assault on our democracy. Some Republican senators who had planned to object changing their vote.
And I cannot now in good conscience object to the certification of these electors.
And we're headed towards tonight, towards the certification of Joe Biden to be the president of the United States.
President Trump in a tweet called his supporters, quote, great patriots who have been badly and unfairly treated for so long. Twitter later threatened to permanently suspend his account. Also tonight, a wave of resignations inside the Trump administration. That includes Stephanie Grisham, the chief of staff for First Lady Melania Trump. On Capitol Hill, I'm Christine Frizzell.
And continuing with our Capitol protest coverage tonight, this is video right here of police officers being met by protesters as they stormed into the Capitol building. The officer even ran away from them as they climbed the steps of the building. And eventually, an armed standoff started at the front door right there. You can see police officers with their guns drawn as some rioters were trying to get in. And officials confirmed shots were fired as dozens of protesters stormed the Capitol building. A woman was even killed earlier today. The mayor of Washington, D.C., calling the storming of the Capitol unpatriotic. As of right now, though, at least 13 people have been arrested following the protests. Let's get you some new information. We'll begin with our team coverage tonight from what went down at the rally at the Capitol here in Springfield, and also a look back at the last time something like this even happened. Our very own Illinois lawmakers locked down, evacuated while protesters breached the Capitol. We'll hear directly from one senator on the heart-racing moments. Our Devin Truby joins us live now, though, with their responses.
Both Illinois Senators Tammy Duckworth and Dick Durbin in agreement tonight. Duckworth saying the blame for this, it rests solely at the feet of President Donald Trump. Durbin saying this is the real legacy of Donald Trump. Illinois congressional delegates bombarding social media with statements condemning the violence. Representative Adam Kinzinger agreeing with Senators Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth that this is Trump's legacy, making an even bolder statement.
Any other country this was happening, it would be called a coup. We'd call it that, so that's what it is.
Senator Duckworth says she was in the tunnel, walking to the floor to speak when Capitol Police turned her around.
The important part was that the Electoral College ballots are here with us. One of the staff members was very quick thinking and was able to secure those and bring them with her when they evacuated us.
Despite the unrest, Duckworth says it's paramount to continue to certify the election results on Wednesday.
I would not be deterred from carrying out my constitutional duties by a mob, by Democratic senators or chatting with each other. We want to resume the process.
Well, Representative Kinzinger has been saying for days that what will happen next will be interesting.
You know, all these members of Congress that have now come out and said they're going to object to the election. I don't know how you can do that right now with a clear conscience, because this is so obviously beyond the pale is probably not even the way to describe it.
Representative Rodney Davis also calling to resume the process in this social media post. Protesters must leave the Capitol so Congress can resume the process of confirming the Electoral College vote. As Representative Darren LaHood states, he fought for the right to peacefully protest, but there is a stark difference between protesting and rioting. And of the 50 people that gathered to protest today at the Illinois State Capitol, only about 5 remain right now, Marcella.
And Devin, with the session coming up and after watching what happened today, there could be some security concerns out there. How's Capitol Police preparing for all of this?
I think that's definitely a concern, and when I spoke with Capitol Police, they say while they don't release the staffing numbers or safety protocols, they can confirm there will be an increased presence, and they're also working with local law enforcement. Governor Pritzker also saying today that he's heightened the presence of Illinois State Police at our government buildings and right here at our state capitol. Reporting live in Springfield, I'm Devin Truby. Marcella, back to you.
Thank you, Devin. And Governor J.B. Pritzker also releasing a statement. In part, it reads here, quote, "I don't make a statement like this lightly. 2 weeks is too long for Donald Trump to remain in office where he can continue to incite more untold violence." And getting started with our top story tonight, while disorder erupted in D.C., a local Trump rally in the land of Lincoln looked much different here. Our Tessa Bentulin joins us live to explain how people felt on Georgia's re-election and the riots. Tessa?
Yeah, Marcella, today's Trump rally at the Capitol here was called Save the State. The organizer tells us they are here demanding for a fair and equal election. As the world watched chaos unfold at the nation's capital on Wednesday after the Georgia runoff election, Trump supporters peacefully protested at the Illinois State House, and they want action.
We wanted a fair election, a true election, and you stolen it. And now if that happened in Washington, I blame the Democrats. I blame anybody and anyone that has not stood up for the Constitution.
The organizer of the Save the State rally, Emily Cahill, explained the importance for their protest.
As you've seen, the 2020 election had problems with it. And if we don't fix what happened in 2020, we cannot have a fair election in 2021 or 2022.
These local protesters weighed in on the jaw-dropping riot in Washington, D.C. Cahill says it's surprising, but the voices are being heard. Do you think storming into a Capitol building is the right thing to do?
No, it is not, and it probably wasn't actually our patriots that did it.
Ralliers were out there since noon on Wednesday, proudly waving Trump flags and signs that read, "Pray for our country." A protester tells us the people have spoken during the uproar in D.C.
If you can't do it by the rules, then you have to take it by force, I guess, and that's what they want to do. I would rather do it the right way, by voting.
Cahill says she will be holding a protest here every week at the Capitol if the weather permits. Marcella?
And Tessa, while we have you here, you were at the rally earlier today. What was the scene out there?
Yeah, Marcella, the rally lasted for hours here, and it was much different than what we saw in Washington, D.C. It was very peaceful. All protesters were on the Capitol steps peacefully waving their flags and signs. People driving by started honking their horns, either in support or opposition of what they were standing for. And the amount of Trump supporters out here throughout the day was coming in waves. Around at 1 p.m., there was dozens of them on those Capitol steps. And then later the day, around 4 p.m., by the time that we left, there was just a couple of people. Marcella?
All right, thank you, Tessa, for that. And despite what's happening nationally today, today's protest at the Springfield Capitol happened without any incidents. Capitol Police released this statement right here. It says that there was a small protest of approximately 40 to 50 people at the Lincoln statue earlier in the day. There were no incidents, though, and Secretary of State Capitol Police remain vigilant to ensure the Capitol complex is safe and secure. The Capitol Police continuing to work with Illinois State Police and other law enforcement entities to make sure the complex and surrounding areas remain safe. Governor Pritzker releasing a statement as well, saying in part, I had to ask Illinois State Police and other law enforcement resources engaged in important life-saving missions to redeploy to heighten their presence at government buildings and the Capitol in Springfield. Sangamon County Sheriff Jack Campbell also reporting no changes are currently being made at the Sheriff's Department and there are no issues as of now. And continuing with our team coverage tonight, 2 centuries. That's how long it's been since the United States Capitol was breached. That all changed, though, today. Fox's Jordan Elder joins us with a look at the historical context of this moment and how we're feeling it here in Illinois. Jordan.
House, but today people went further than they were ever supposed to. One political expert even saying it's a black eye on America's reputation.
It takes a lot to leave political expert Kent Redfield speechless. But Wednesday, the devastation in D.C. did just that.
This is just an unprecedented assault on our democratic institution.
The last breach of the Capitol, the British, over 200 years ago during the War of 1812. Until now, when pro-Trump protesters forced their way in.
It's hard to be a beacon for democracy when you have the kinds of pictures that we've been seeing all day on TV.
David Mendenhall, a Republican Party leader in Sangamon County, says he was disappointed to see Wednesday's events.
Our president lost the election. We have elected a new president. It's time for our current president to step down and move forward.
Protesters also taking to the Capitol steps in Illinois. Mendenhall says any claims of election fraud will be investigated, but until then...
Protesting and all of this isn't going to solve that, and it's just going to make the country look bad, and it's going to have people pointing fingers at the Republican Party saying, look what you've done.
Though the local protests were smaller in size, Redfield says the meaning behind them is significant.
We have those problems here in Illinois. We need to address ethics. We need to address, a whole series of issues in terms of the way we do politics and the way we do policy.
Redfield says this will be a day we look back on in the history books, but he says whether we view it as a lesson or as the start of a devastating trend will be up to national leaders. In studio, I'm Jordan Elder. Marcella, back to you.
Thanks, Jordan. Sangamon County's Democratic Party also reacting tonight. The county's party chair, Doris Turner, says she never thought she'd be explaining today's events to her grandchildren. Turner calling the breach of the U.S. Capitol building an assault on our democracy. She also says there's still a deep divide in the country because of the election. Turner urging local political leaders to come together and set an example.
We have to have people that will stand up and say, this has got to stop. And we have to come together to move our country forward. We cannot continue to remain in this chasm.
Turner also says Republican leaders at all levels should not be silent about the riot at the Capitol. And as always, if you'd like to follow along with this developing story, you can always visit our website at foxillinois.com. And coming up, our chaos at the Capitol coverage continues. We bring you a live look at what's happening right now. And concerned with taking the coronavirus vaccine, the steps one man is taking to educate his employees about it.
And I'm tracking dry weather for the next couple days, much needed across central Illinois. But the common theme we'll see will be clouds, clouds, and more clouds. Stay tuned. I'll be breaking down that forecast for you coming up in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Sarah. Plus, helping those in need, what one author is doing to give back to the community. And before we head to that break, let's talk about tonight's question of the day. A new report says the average person will do this once every 7 years. What will they do? Send us your guesses over on our Fox Illinois Facebook page. We'd love to read them. We'll be right back with more. Stay with us.